Many, many moons ago, our world had balance. We cared for our earth, and our earth took care of us. We grew our own crops and medicine and had unlimited supplies of water. We created villages where we entrenched ourselves with community. Our elders would pass all of their knowledge on to our people. We believe in the grandfather teachings: humility, bravery, honesty, wisdom, truth, respect, and love. We understood the importance of our spiritual practices and took pride in traditional ceremonies and rituals. We protected one another and raised fine children. Our children were where they belonged, with the people who gave them life, taught them how to fish, hunt, gather, and love. All was well with the world until we experienced colonization. Then everything changed forever. Colonization brought war, disease, famine, and violence. We experienced destruction and violation of cultural laws, sacred sites, families, and communities. We were denied our knowledge, our language, ceremonies, and our identity, the very things that tell us who we are and where we belong, and our connections with each other. Our children had been taken from us, had their names changed, and their identities taken away. They were sent to residential schools. Residential schools were created by Christian churches and the Canadian government as an attempt to both educate and convert Indigenous youth and to integrate them into Canadian society. However, the schools disrupted lives and communities, causing long-term problems among Indigenous people. Since the last residential school closed in 1996, former students have demanded recognition and restitution, resulting in the Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement in 2007 and a formal public apology by Prime Minister Stephen Harper in 2008. In total, an estimated 150,000 First Nation, Inuit, and Métis children attended residential schools. Overall, students had a negative experience at residential schools, one that would have lasting consequences. Students were isolated, and their culture was disparaged or scorned. They were removed from their homes and parents and were separated from some of their siblings, as the schools were segregated according to gender. In some cases, they were forbidden to speak their first language, even in letters sent home to their parents. The attempt to assimilate children began upon their arrival at the schools. Their hair was cut, and they were stripped of their traditional clothes, and they were given uniforms. In many cases, they were also given new names. Christian missionary staff spent a lot of time and attention on Christian practices, while at the same time they criticized or denigrated Indigenous spiritual traditions. Until the late 1950s, residential schools operated on a half-day system in which students spent half of the day in the classroom and the other half at work. The theory behind this was that students would learn skills that would allow them to earn a living as adults. However, the reality was that work had more to do with running the school inexpensively than with providing students with vocational training. Our children had faced unspeakable acts of abuse. These children experienced physical, emotional, mental, and sexual pain, and even death, all due to the residential school systems. While our children were away, the communities fell apart. We needed all community members present to thrive and to succeed. Without our children, we lost hope. We developed extreme mental health challenges. We found unhealthy coping mechanisms like heavy alcohol consumption, drug use, self-harming behaviors, and even suicide. When our children eventually returned home, everything was different. Our spirits have been damaged. We have unknowingly passed on our trauma to our children through sharing stories and having them witness and experience our pain. Though we have experienced intergenerational trauma for many, many moons, we are determined and dedicated to our healing journey to change the life for Indigenous people forever. We are resilient. We are strong. We will fight for self-governance, appropriate education for our children, safe drinking water, federal law review, and to close the gap. We deserve a good standard of living. We deserve to heal from our trauma, and we deserve to govern our own people and the land and water we make use of.